What's going on, good people? Welcome to the new episode of the Paul Rivera Podcast. I honestly can't think of a better person to launch this season with than the big fella. The big fella, Kendrick Perkins, Big Perk. What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Man, P, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on, man. I'm a big fan of your podcast. Hey, look, you remember last time we was at dinner, I told you, I said, P, I'm just waiting on my invite. I'm waiting on you. So now it's finally here, man. Look, one thing about it, before we start the show, man, I just want to give you flowers, man. You're doing a great job in everything that you do, everything that you got your hands on. From day one that I met you, man, you always been an authentic, genuine dude, man, and I respect that about you. You never change, and you always been the same PR I've been knowing since the day I met you, man, and I wanted to tell you that.
Perk, I appreciate that, man. Before we get into it, family, we were talking a little bit before the show started, but family's safe, you're safe, everyone's healthy?
Man, everybody good, man. Thank God, man. But kids driving me crazy. But hey, it's part of being a daddy. I mean, it's all good though. We making it through.
Hey, Perk, we're gonna get into Kendrick Perkins, the journalist or the analyst. But I first, so you even crack up when you hear it, man. But I want to go back to your playing career, man. I think that's what separates you and the homies, Matt Barnes and Steven Jack. You guys not only played, but you played with a large crop of the guys that are playing today. And not only guys that are playing, you played with superstars. You played with, you specifically, when I started thinking back to the teams you played with, you've played with probably 4, 5, 6 of the top 20 players in the last 20 years, give or take. So can we go back to OKC, if you can remember that far back? Were all three of them there when you were there? Was Harden there, Russ, and KD?
Yeah. They were babies when I first got there. So, I was able, when I got to Oklahoma City, that's when the practice facility was a skating ring. They rented out a skating ring and turned it into a practice facility. And the first day I got there, I remember KG hitting me like 3 days later, not the first day, 3 days later, and he was like, "Hey man, how you feeling? How those young guns over there?" I said, "KG, you wouldn't even imagine, man, these guys are some gym rats." And KD, James, and Russ, they were babies, 22, 23, 21. So these MVPs and us watching them become stars, I knew this was gonna happen.
How soon did you know, these guys got a shot to be special, the three of them?
Well, KD, we knew that at Texas.
Sure.
He's been a walking bucket his entire life. I still to this day, I still believe that he probably will go down as arguably the greatest scorer of all time. I mean, there's nothing that he can't do offensively. When you look at a guy like James Harden, people didn't know because he was in the shadows of Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. But when I got there and I watched him come in off the bench and he was able to get 35 pieces and 40 pieces playing behind those guys in limited minutes, I was like, hold on, man, this guy's going to be special. I remember in the Dallas Mavericks series when the Mavs went on to win the title, we was in a closeout game. No, the year they won after they won the title, we was in a closeout game, game 4, and we were down 13 going into the 4th. And James Harden took it over. I think he finished with like 29, but he had 15 of his 29 in the 4th and wheeled us back. And right then and there, in that big moment, I said, man, this guy here is going to be special.
Let's, it's crazy. I saw a picture the other day of the three of them, and it almost looked photoshopped, right? Because it's crazy to think that those three are savages. I mean that as the utmost compliment, we're on the same team. What do you think that looks like, man? I mean, obviously, we can only guess. What does that look like if those three stay together, man?
I mean, you're looking at about two at the least championships, right? But here's the thing, Pete. The thing is that everyone talk about, Sam Presti didn't keep the team together and he didn't do a great job. But you got to understand, these guys were young, man. Winning the championship was kind of on their mind, but they had so much more to accomplish on the individual side. Like they were still trying to establish themselves as Russell Westbrook, the MVP, the 3 years in a row averaging a triple-double. Kevin Durant, MVP, you know, and you know all his accolades. James Harden, MVP, led the league in scoring for 3 straight years. Like, they were still trying to get all that. See, what people don't understand is that, like, when KG, Ray, and Paul was formed, the only thing that was left on their resume was to win the championship.
Right.
They were 30 plus. You know, these guys, KG was 33, Ray was 34. They had accomplished everything that they needed to accomplish. The same thing with like Bron, D. Wade, and Bosh. You know, they had accomplished all NBA teams, MVPs. The only thing that was left is, especially for Bron and Bosh, was to come together and win a championship. And I say that because at that age, it was hard to ask Russ, KD, and James to sacrifice.
Right.
And then people want to ask James, oh man, why didn't you stay? Well, if James would have stayed, James wouldn't have got the $300+ million contract, $200 million shoe deal. Mm-hmm. Like, people forget that before anything else, the NBA is a job. You're supposed to get your money first and then worry about everything else second.
Facts. You know, perfect segue. You talked about that Boston team, man. What was that like playing with them? I mean, all Hall of Famers, obviously. What was that like playing with, you know, the big ticket, playing with Ray, playing with Pierce?
Man, it was a blessing. And, you know, I was young at the time, and I remember I walked into Doc Rivers' office, and I was like, man, Doc, I'm 24. Like, I ain't getting no touches. And he was like, Perk, you want to go to a losing team, or you want me to make you a winner? Do your role. But the thing, I never took it for granted, though, playing with these great guys, especially KG. Like, when KG first walked in the door in Boston, man, I never took that for granted. I watched and tried to mimic everything he done on and off the court. Now, I wasn't KG skill-wise, but at least I was trying to mimic a future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest power forwards to ever do it. And the thing that I learned so much playing with those guys was the way that they sacrificed, the way that they came together, the hard work that they put in. People don't know, but like Ray Allen, we used to land in cities the night before the game. He used to go to the hotel room, hurry up and put his bags and stuff up, get situated, and you'll catch him downstairs in the fitness center running 5 miles. That's what he used to do just because he wanted to keep his cardio up. Wow. People didn't understand how much KG used to stay in the weight room. He was one of the guys besides LeBron that I see, like, he lived in the weight room. They taught me the definition of hard work, and they taught me that it was okay to be Perk, if that makes sense. Like, of course. Hey, look, forget the outside world, Perk. If you want to survive in this league and have a 10+ year, be a star in your role. That's what they taught me. Everybody can't be a captain. You know, like, if you have so many captains, sooner or later you go sink the ship. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So that's what they taught me, man, and I never take it for granted. Hard work, sacrifice, and it's okay to be who you are.
I love it, man. I've had the pleasure of meeting KG and spending some time with him, and I don't think people can grasp what a complete like lunatic that guy is. And again, I mean it as a compliment. Like, that guy cared about winning and competing, man. Is there a story or an example in your time you spent with him that you could give us, whether it was at a practice or anything like that, just how laser focused KG has always been?
Man, it's so many stories, though. It's a few of them I could share with you real quick, too. One, I remember the first meeting we had, film session. We all knew, no disrespect to Paul, no disrespect to Ray Allen, they future Hall of Famers, right? Ray Allen already in the Hall of Fame. KG comes in the meeting and says, I'm going to take a back seat to Paul and Ray. We're going to run the offense through you. I was like, what? You the big ticket. Like, we know you are clearly the best player on this team. Cedric Maxwell said that KG was the best all-around player in Celtic history. Imagine that. Cornbread said that, right? But it was just his competitive nature. He brought that intensity. So much where our first practice in Rome, we had our first practice. We were supposed to go 2-a-days. Man, we went so hard because of KG talking noise that Doc said he canceled practice for the evening and said that was the best practice he ever had as a coach.
Wow.
And then he was so laser sharp with far as KG. It was like he had two different personalities, right? This on and off switch. You see him outside the basketball court, he joking, dancing. Yep. He want to have a good time. He always laughing and telling stories. And then all of a sudden you arrive to the arena and it's like, oh, okay, KG in the training room. Man, I'm going to go chill in the locker room. If KG in the locker room, I'm going to go find another space in the bathroom. Like, you didn't want to be in this company. We wanted the headphones. If you had your headphones on, he wanted it dead silent. I remember him and Ray got into it because Ray used to have a ritual where he used to be in there dribbling the ball, getting his handles right before the game, but he used to be in the locker room like, you know, he went back to his he got game moments.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus service work. And I remember KG was like, say, B, can we focus in here? Like, this ain't all about you, man. This ain't all about you. They get into a whole argument, dog. They get into a whole argument like Ray, like, well, Kev, this is what I do for my, he like, man, you need to go do that in the hallway, man. Everybody don't want to hear you doing it. Okay, it's about Ray Allen. This is what it's about, right? It's just about you. So ever since then, man, he set the tone, and Ray actually didn't have a problem with it. He respected it. So, you know, it's just those type of stories, that mindset.
I love it, man. And then transitioning, you know, obviously we're jumping around a little bit, but you end up in Cleveland. Obviously you'd gone up against LeBron plenty of times by that point, and obviously knew of his talent. But, you know, what was your first impression, you know, of LeBron, whether it was off the court or whether it was practice or whether it was training camp, before the game stuff? Was there an early impression he made on you?
But see, Pete, this is the thing, man. People don't understand. Me and Bron go back since the 7th grade.
Oh, like, shit. That's right.
When he was on the Ohio Shooting Stars, I was on the Houston Hoops, and every year up until like my 11th grade year, we met up in the championship in every tournament, every single tournament. For about 1 month, our sophomore year, I was ranked #1 in the country.
And y'all same class.
We the same class.
We played. Talk your shit, Kirk. Let them know.
Same class. 03. And look, we played on the same team in my senior year for like 2 tournaments, the Oakland Soldiers. And people didn't even know this. Let me tell you something. Bron was ahead of his time, like when he was 15. And I'm not talking about on the court. I'm talking about off the court. So you know how AAU games go, where you may play 5 or 6 games in a day. So in between, guys running and getting McDonald's and stuff like that. We didn't know nothing about eating habits. Guess what LeBron was doing? Man, the man was eating fruits and salads and was drinking water. Like, at that age, and especially back then, how was you that intelligent and that disciplined to do those type of things? But when I got to Cleveland, I always respected Bron game. I always was like, man, this dude, like, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They called the man the chosen one. You know how much pressure that is? And he's upheld and so like overachieved that pressure since the age of 16. People don't understand. He was the first high school player to ever get a national televised game on ESPN.
Yep. I remember that. He had Phil Knight sitting courtside.
Shaq was there. Shaq was there. Like, if that ain't pressure, I don't know what it is. But I always had the ultimate respect. I was like, man, Bron is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. Although we had those battles when I was in Boston. Although he beat me in the finals when I was in OKC. But when I got on this team, our brotherhood was already there. But as a teammate, my level of respect for him went through the roof, man. Because off the court, I've never seen a guy that works as hard as LeBron James, that is more disciplined than LeBron James. And you know this, Pete. You call Bron about 11 o'clock, he not answering because he in the bed.
Sweet.
Like, and waking up at 5 in the morning, hitting the weight room before practice, going to practice, working out with his teammates after practice, getting extra shots up, and then have to go do a 3-hour commercial, especially if it's not a game day, and then turn around, he might get some extra work in, but he's getting treatment. Right. How many times we done been in steakhouses, 5-star steakhouses, and we in there eating and enjoying the moment, and you got my boy Mike giving them STEM unit and treatment and stuff like that. People don't realize when I see him do certain things, and now that I'm watching him at the age of 35, and I'm 35, and I'm looking at Bron do the same things he was doing when he first came in the league. He haven't lost a bit of athleticism, but people don't know what he do behind the scenes. And that's why my level of respect, and that's why, you know, I don't never argue with people about, they can say Jordan, but Bron is the greatest to me because I know what he do. I know the sacrifices, and for him to carry it over and overachieve for this longevity is remarkable, man. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, you know, no disrespect to anyone, but there's a lot of 6'8" guys walking around planet Earth. You know, I remember his second year in Cleveland when he came back, the year they won it. He went down to Miami the month of August, which if you know anything, you've been in Miami month of August. I love Miami. It's the last place on earth I want to be, is Miami in the month of August. Right. Humid, you're sweating through everything. He went down to Miami and did 3-a-days. Not 2-a-days, 3-a-days. Took his family down there. It wasn't a party, wasn't anything. 3-a-days working out. He'd go in the morning with Mike Mancias, his trainer, get right in the gym, go to DBC or whatnot, go get a shake or something like that. Get in the gym, you know, be with Phil Handy, working on the handle and doing all that stuff, go home, spend time with the family, get a nap, get a massage, come back at night on the court, shots. You know, this is a guy that had already won championships. There's a guy that's on his 13th signature shoe. There's a guy that's got all the money in the world. It's more than just, you know, he's not trying to get a deal. It's just a different level of greatness. And I tell people all the time, I've been blessed, like in my professional life. You know, I worked at Nike and I've been in rooms with Phil Knight. I worked at Beats by Dre and I've been in rooms with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. You know, I see that same level of like commitment to greatness. It's not just that he's physically gifted. He answers to a different calling in terms of his commitment to the game. You know, is that something, do you sense that as a teammate when you're playing with him?
Yeah, all day long, and how intelligent he is, right? And people don't understand, he's also a student of the game. Like, Bron is always open-minded. Like, people think Bron is stubborn, and I hate that narrative where they say, oh, Bron is not coachable. Man, that's BS, man. I've been around it. I watched T. Lue coach him. I watched him accept it. Well, where they didn't been back and forth at shooting rounds where Bron was saying, Luke, why we don't do this? And Luke like, Bron, run him my way first, and then we go see what you, and Bron like, okay, I got you. We go run and I'm going to do it harder. Like, he didn't call, like, I didn't watch Bron accept being coached. So let's change that, because I be seeing that floating around, and I hate that. He's not a coach killer, never been, and he's always been open-minded, the ultimate team guy. So let's get that straight, because I remember at one point, you know, Timothy Mozgov, right? We was in the finals. Big Timo was struggling a little bit. Bron said the simplest stuff, but the realest stuff. He said, Timo, all I can ask you to do is give me your very best like you doing, my brother. Nothing more, nothing less. You out there playing hard. None of us is flawless. Keep doing what you do. Like, that's a leader. That's a leader. And I'm mad I missed the point, P, when you said how he takes time to be with his family. Bron don't even realize, like, we have the same type of similar situation family-wise. Like, I've been with my wife since the 10th grade, right? He's the same with him. Like, and I watch how I know what he has to go through. I know the business calls he have to take, the commercials, but he still managed to find time for his family. You watch, he's at Bronny games, he's at Bryce games, he's with Savannah, he's with Azuri. They doing everything, cooking in the kitchen or whatever it is, and that type of thing. Like, people need to appreciate that. Absolutely. Because everyone want to talk about, oh, basketball players, man, they do this, they do that. Here it is, you got one of the greatest of all time showing these youngsters, especially in the African-American community, how to do it the right way. And I applaud him for that.
No, speaking of which, I remember, I think it was 2 summers ago, Me, Mav, Rich, and Ramos, which, by the way, the day we're recording this is Randy's birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ramos.
The realest to do it.
That's right.
We were in Vegas, and Bron was an AAU dad. We must have went to 4 games a day. And by the way, when Bronny didn't have a game, we raced across town to catch CP's team. And when CP didn't have a game, we raced across town to catch Melo's team play. You know, like he was truly in his element of just being an AAU dad. Now, mind you, we're in Vegas. And then at night, we go to his suite and we're playing cards. And to your earlier point, it's about 10:30, 10:45, which, by the way, people still taking naps in Vegas at 10:30 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Bron, after the third game, Bron's like, "Ooh, what y'all about to do?" And we're like, "What you mean?" He's like, "I mean, y'all ain't got to go home, but yeah." Like, he starts closing the curtains. He's dimming lights. He was going to sleep because he was getting working in the morning. And I'm like, "Yo, we in Vegas in the off season." And he's like, "Yeah, it's about that time, man. Yo, it was good hanging with y'all boys, man. Y'all be safe tonight."
You know how he do. That's exactly how he do.
And your guy, Rich Paul was like, "I've been thrown out of way better places than this."
That means he done pissed Rich off. That touched the soft spot right there. But Pete, people don't see that, man. They don't know that, man. They think it's just, Bron was just a God's gift to the world and he was just blessed. But nah, he took advantage of what he had and he still do to this day. They don't understand the ultimate sacrifice. And you know what? To the people who don't, they need to cleanse their soul and appreciate them right here. Straight up,
absolutely.
Man.
I wanna now go to your transition from a ball player to, what do you consider yourself, a journalist or an analyst or both?
I'm an analyst.
Okay. As an analyst, that happened by mistake. It happened. Was there a plan to it? Because I remember looking up one day and being like, "Yo, Perk's breaking news out here." Like Perk's on Twitter, like locked in on this thing. Like, was it a conscious decision or did you kind of just fall into it? Like, how'd that happen?
So what happened was I wanted to be the next head coach. There was a big that played in the game. Because I feel like we get overlooked. Point guards, small forwards. They ain't the only people that know the game, right? They ain't the only people that got IQ. So what I started to do with all the franchises, Cleveland, New Orleans, the Thunder, the Celtics, they all knew my basketball IQ and they actually all offered me assistant jobs, right?
Oh, wow.
And Minnesota. But I wanted to get out there even more to let other franchises hear my takes on basketball. So I just started, tweeting during the playoffs about certain things like, man, you can't help off the corner 3, man, that you'll get burnt all the time. Or when people were saying, oh, that was such and such fault on defense, I was like, nah, that was actually this guy's fault because he was supposed to X out on the weak side, right? Just breaking down the game. Next thing I know, I get a call from, I started getting messages from like Fox, ESPN.
Wow.
They're like, hey, would you mind coming on the show? I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'll come on the show, be able to speak something that I'm doing anyway, and that's watching a game of basketball. So people don't understand. Last year, every show I was on, I did it for free. Wow. I did it for free. I didn't get paid a dime for none of it. And I went on Fox, and they was like, hey, would you be interested in coming back for the rest of the playoffs when we call you? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then ESPN was like, hey, Perk, we want you back. Hey, they started, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm there. Name the time, name the date, the place or whatever. I'm there, right?
So Perk, let's talk about that for a little bit though, like, because that's the thing. I have a lot of like young listeners, people trying to get on, people trying to grind. It's like, talk about that a little bit, like the investment in yourself, because most people would say, or a lot of people would say, especially of this generation after us, like, nah, if I know such and such is making such and such, I need such and such. Talk about a little bit about the investment in yourself of saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to look at these reps and invest in myself and know in the long game I'm going to be good money.
Right. People don't never want to work for it or earn it. Everything got to be given to them. No, like, you got to earn your stripes. Like, it was steps to get to. That's why Stephen A. Smith is where he at. That's why Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless are where they at. Like, they didn't just come about and say, you know, they just jump right into the fines and start getting paid and was getting paid big money. Like, they started from the bottom. And you know what I did? I did my research, and I went research Michael Strahan. And when I did that, he never turned down anything, P. He didn't turn down any network. He didn't turn down any podcast. He didn't turn down any magazine interview, nothing. He said yes to everybody. And it helps you get better with your craft. It shows your dedication to it. And it also shows dedication to the networks, right? So the last summer comes along, and I get a couple of coaching offers, and ESPN like, hey, we want you to work for us full time. And I'm like, wow, really? And they was like, yeah, like, Perk, you're genuine. You're yourself. Like, I'm a country boy from Beaumont, Texas. P, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not sitting up here looking in the encyclopedia or dictionary trying to be somebody I'm not. Who you see who I am, that's who I am. Like, I may speak with broken English at times. I don't care. But we talking basketball, right? This ain't English class. This is basketball. So, you know, at the end of the day, man, they gave me that call, and I was like, I could work this amount of hours and talk about the game of basketball on TV. I'm going to watch it anyway. And I get to spend more time with my family. I missed so much time playing 14 years away from my family that played a huge part also. And I was like, you know, my oldest he was 12 at the time. Wasn't in his life as much, you know, wasn't able to work with him on his craft in basketball and football. And I started having fun being a dad. And I was like, you know what, if I could do this, and I started loving it. I ain't gonna lie. If I could watch the game and go in there and argue with Max and Stephen A. and go on the jump and do ESPN hoop streams. And I fell in love with it. And I was like, man, forget this coaching stuff. I like it straight up.
You know what's funny, man? I've had, in my travels and doing what I do, I've had the pleasure of meeting, you know, a lot, if not most of the analysts. And what I'm about to say, I don't mean it in a negative way, but there are analysts that what you see on TV isn't what you get in person. And maybe for the better, right? You meet someone that you thought you didn't like, and you're like, this guy's actually a good dude. You know, he's just doing his job. I don't have a problem with him. What I tell people, and I have a ton of friends that are like, yo, I mess with Perk, man. I like him. I like his thing. I'm like, no, you don't understand this. Whether there's a camera on Perk, a mic on Perk, or we at dinner, that's Big Perk. There's no difference. And like you just said, there's no difference in who you are and how you handle your business. And I think that's been like one of the keys to your success. Personally, it's been like, you just genuine Perk. And I think that's why the players gravitate to you. You know, that's why your knowledge of the game and all those things. Like, is that something you hang your hat on just being you and being genuine you, whether you're in front of the camera or not?
Absolutely, P. And I appreciate that, my brother. I don't try to be someone I'm not, man. I gotta be me. And the good thing about it is that I still got great relationships with all my people, especially in the basketball world. All my GMs, all my homies that are still playing, except maybe for one, KD, because he get a little sensitive. But all the rest of my homies I'm good with because they know I got a job to do. But they know if they have a bad game, I got to go out there and talk about Bron and AD. Man, They struggling right now. They need to pull it together. But they also know that I'm going to be the first to give them their flowers when they ball. I'm going to be the first to salute. I'm going to be the first to praise them. And if it's a subject that comes to hand that don't have to deal with basketball and it has something to do with their personal life, you know what I do? I reach out to them and I say, listen, I got to go on television and this is the topic. Tell me how you feel. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. And I'm going to go on TV and I'm going to say this and I'm leaving it alone. You can speak through me and get your point of view across when it comes to something that happened personally in their life. Basketball, I'm going to give my takes. You know what it is, what I see on the floor. You know, hey, man, Bron missed the rotation. And that Bron, you know, Bron ain't sensitive to it. You know, like it's part of the game. Like, it happens. He know how I genuinely feel about him. And some people get in their feelings. Well, one person did, not everybody. But so, man, I just try to be me. And P, they had a write-up about me, like in Sports Illustrated, right before I retired, as one of the greatest teammates of all time. And that's because they know, like, the same things I say on TV is the same things I would say in the locker room. So it ain't no difference. They'd be like, nah, this Perk being Perk.
Nah, and that I get that off you, and that's why I was saying what I just said of, like, whether we're doing dinner, whether we're grabbing a drink, whether it's at a workout, whether it's seeing you on ESPN, it's like you're the same person, right? And even if you're saying something I may not agree with or like, I know it's coming from a real place. It ain't for the show. It ain't for anything. It's like where we come from is like, that's like the utmost compliment you can provide anyone. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man. And you know it's crazy. Look, in the basketball world, we go always disagree to agree. And I'm not always right? Like, I mean, certain things I may miss. It happens. Or certain times my predictions may be wrong. It happens like that. But people get, you know what's crazy that I learned? Fans are really crazy. Like, I had to tell one fan, like, listen, if you're losing sleep over a basketball game, you need to check what's going on in your life because you ain't living right, man. It's not that serious. You know, we just talking hoops, but, you know, it'd be fun, man. I throw a little charisma in there every now and then, you know, but, you know, Pete, man, I'm just doing me, man. I'm just having fun with it. You know, I'm actually, you know, I'm glued to the TV. And you know I talk a lot. You know, we be at the Blu-ray table playing cards, and you see Braun get aggravated with me because I'll be like, hey, you think about what we gonna do on the speaker tomorrow? They love.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I've seen it. It's so true, man.
You see that face he be giving me?
So let's get into it, man. Before I get you out of here, I got to get some predictions from you, man. MVP is going to be announced any day. In your opinion, who do you think should be the 2020 NBA MVP and why?
Pete, let me tell you. LeBron James should be the MVP, all right? Because here's why. This is the thing. The narrative has changed throughout the years so much on what the MVP is. We don't know the criteria no more. Like Giannis, I said this, he's the MVP. Most dominant player, right? Because you look at his numbers in the minutes that he played and the PER and all the analytics stuff, whatever. But when I'm talking about most valuable player, I'm looking at a player, and there's no disrespect to the Lakers or Anthony Davis, because I love AD. But if you take LeBron off the Lakers, are they number one in the Western Conference? Where is this team going to be? You take Giannis off the Bucks, I believe the Bucks are still top 5. You see, like, I go as far back as when Steve Nash was winning MVPs, right? He was the most valuable to the Phoenix Suns. Right. You know, one year he won it, he averaged 18 and 10. Right. Kobe averaged 35 that year with the Lakers when he was playing with Kwame Brown and Smush Parker. Like, that's the most valuable player. We watched another one in CP3, right? He would have finished second on my list. You take him off the Thunder, what would the Thunder be at? That's most valuable. Like, that's the most valuable player. Like, and I think we changed the narrative so much, and I wish that they changed the whole voting process. Let the media pick like 5 finalists for each end of the season award, and then let the players and coaches pick from there. But you cannot pick nobody on your team. Yeah, because it's like, oh, Giannis because of this, Giannis because of that, Giannis because he's done something since Wilt Chamberlain. I'm like, but what is his impact on the team? Like, is he the most valuable player because, you know, like, so Braun is to me, I mean, then look at his numbers.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Your homie, our good friend, Rachel Nichols, you know, she's been a big advocate of going almost to like the football system of having like offensive player of the year, defense, like we have a defensive player of the year, and maybe changing the awards because to your point, we haven't clearly defined or articulated, you know, what the criteria is. So people gravitate to, well, this person scored 35 points a game, so they're the most valuable player. And to your point, it's way more than points, right? It's all the other stuff, all the ancillary stuff. So when she said that, I felt like she was onto something of like, we need to, and you're kind of saying it in a different way. We need to clearly articulate what makes an MVP. Is it the best player in the league? Is it the most valuable player in the league? Is it the most dominant player in the league? Is it the best player? What is that? And if we can agree on that, I think it'll be easier to say, well, clearly this guy is or that guy is. So when do they announce it? When do they officially announce MVP? It's this week, right?
I think they announced it. Now they might announce it next week. Next week, because it's the final award. But you hit it right on. You hit it right on the head, though, Pete. The goalposts get shifted every single year.
Very true.
Because, it was a time, and real short, it was a time where I could actually say that Bron should have won the MVP 8 straight years in a row. But we got bored with his greatness. Because if you look at it, every single time, what happened when Bron left? Every time he leaves Cleveland, what happened to Cleveland? They go right into the lottery.
Right into the lottery.
Right into the lottery. You go from a contender to the lottery every single time that he leaves this team. And it was 8 years in a row I thought he could have won the MVP, but just alone. And then the goalpost was shifted. Oh, he's in a weak Eastern Conference. I thought the Celtics was still there. I thought you still had the Pistons that was there, but all of a sudden it's a weak Eastern Conference.
Chicago was there with a young bull.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, like the goalposts just keep getting moved every year. So, like you said, what is the criteria? Like, let's set it in stone.
Who do you have in your finals? Give me your finals picks.
I'm a ride the wave of Miami. I'm a ride the wave of Miami coming out of the East. I think they got a point to prove. I think they're well coached by Eric Spoelstra. And I got the Lakers coming out of the West. I just can't, like, a team gonna have to show me, because I just can't go against LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I'm gonna just have to ride with that till the wheels fall off. Because I strongly believe that that's the best duo since Kobe and Shaq.
I'm with that. You know what's interesting, man? It's like, I had a good friend of mine, like a high school, like a childhood best friend of mine, huge basketball junkie, say when the bubble started, he said, "Man, P, I don't know if they should play, because even if your man wins, there's going to be an asterisk on this chip." And I think there's this like consensus of like, it'll be a different type of year. I don't think people realize, and I don't want to put words in Bron's mouth. He didn't say this. This is me saying this. But from what I can gather from speaking to him, texting every day and having those conversations, I don't think people realize how challenging and how different this season has been for those guys. And I could make an argument, and I would love your point of view, that this may be the most challenging championship, not the easiest, not an asterisk, not, you won in 2020, but that was a bubble year and it didn't count. I think this is going to be the most challenging championship for any team to win.
I agree. This is going to be one of the greatest championships of all time. We watched even the guys that were sent home early from the bubble. You watch those guys when they got home, it felt like they just did a bid. People don't understand the restrictions, the sacrificing that they have to go through where they're leaving the gym. There's only so much fishing and going to, the Lakers had a pizza party, man. Like, you're in your hotel room all day. Yes, you got the internet, but that gets old. Like, you can't go out, like, you isolated in the bubble. It is stressful. And competing without fans, like, fans win you games. It's a reason that you fight for home court advantage. So to have that mentality to go out there and compete at the level that they have been competing during these circumstances, after a 4-month layoff, in my opinion, P, it's going to be one of the greatest championships of all time.
I agree, man. Bron hit me for my birthday. He FaceTimed me a couple weeks ago, August 5th. And, or I guess a month ago at this point. Thank you, brother. And I told him just in conversation, like we finished the conversation, I'm like, yo, what you about to do? And he looked at me, Perk, like I had 9 heads. He was like, what you mean? You trying to be funny? What you mean I'm about to do? Going back to my room. He was offended, Perk. Like, what you mean what I'm about to do? I'm going back to my room. Like, right. And I don't think people realize like the isolation those guys are going through, man. Like, it's like, it's kind of insane. I'm sure Rachel's told you. I know you talked to the players. I know she was there. Did you consider going to the bubble at all?
I did. At first, we were supposed to go originally, and then ESPN was like, it really didn't make sense to bring everyone down there for the simple fact that we're doing shows remotely from home, and it's working just fine. So, you know, we were supposed to go down there, but yeah, Rachel has said it plenty of times. She even talked about when Paul George went through his mental health issue, and she said it's not easy being down there in the bubble. And I talked to a lot of the guys, and they right now what they're doing a great job of leaning on one another. Yeah. So it's almost probably like high school, college days when you go on the trip. You know, we all in one room. Yep. You know, it's a lot of card playing, yep. A lot of bank accounts being exchanged. You know, hey, here go my information. Go ahead and wire that 20 racks that you just got booed for. So you know how it is.
Absolutely, man. Perk, before I let you go, man, you know, like I said at the top, man, it's been honestly a beautiful thing to see, you know, your progression and your transition, and see, you know, what to some may seem fast, and maybe even to you, like the grind you've put into it. And like you said, investing in yourself and doing things for free and not saying no to anything. So that's been a beautiful thing to see. I know how challenging that is. What's next for Perk, man? Before we get out of here, what's next for you, man?
And to be honest, I'm gonna ride this wave for a little bit. I'm enjoying this. ESPN, you know, they love me. You know, I bring a different type of flavor to the show. Some people say I remind them of a little more intelligent Charles Barkley. I don't just make bold predictions like the Portland Trail Blazers are.
I guarantee it.
I guarantee it. If you guarantee it, go the other way. But for real though, P, I'm gonna enjoy the family, man, and I'm gonna continue to do this analyst thing for a while. And if something comes up where I feel the need that, you know, I want to actually pursue my dream before this one and go into coaching, then I consider doing it. But right now, man, being around my family and being able just to watch it at my house, and then maybe fly out here and there and go speak on it and talk about it, you know, on TV, man, is very comfortable right now for me, and I'm loving it. So I could just see myself doing this for the next 5 or 6 years. Who knows?
Dope. I love it. For those people that have been under a rock or something, where can they see some of your work? I know you have a podcast. Plug the podcast, please.
Go ahead. Well, yeah, I'm working on it. It's not official yet, but you know, you could catch me. You know, I'm co-host on Hoop Streams. That's on the digital platform. Yep. With Cassidy Hubbard. I be on the Jump on the regular. Now I'm starting to be on the Get Up and First Take. So, you know, I don't turn down any ESPN opportunities. They call me. They're like, "Hey, Perk, look, we need you on this show tomorrow." I'm like, "Book it." I told the talent director who do all the booking. I said, "Look, don't even ask me if I'm on. Just tell me what time and what date. Like, if you want me to be on tomorrow, just tell me First Take tomorrow. Don't even ask, because whatever I got playing, I'm gonna cancel it because I want to talk hoops."
Hey, and that's so true, man. You know, like you're a man of your word. I can show the text. I texted you, said, "Yo, Perk, would love to have you on the show." You're like, "Tell me when, tell me where." I'm there, no questions asked. So it's always been love. Perk, the only thing we got to figure out is how to get a digital or a Zoom Blu-ray game during this pandemic. If we can figure that out, we'd be good.
Look, a digital Blu-ray or Guts app.
We got it. Hey, listen. App. Hey, when we get off this, we're gonna call Rich Paul. We're gonna get this figured out.
Yeah, man. I know him and Mal can figure that out. A Blu-ray app.
For sure.
When we get in and do our thing.
For sure. My brother, appreciate the time, man. Honestly, I'll hit you when we off camera. I want to say, honestly, I know you're busy. I appreciate you making the time. I look forward to all your predictions coming true. Nah, man, I'll see you on the other side. I appreciate you. Love to the family, the missus. Yo, and I might hit you about a puppy too, by the way. I might hit you about a puppy.
Yeah, I'll be doing a little something with it. But Pete, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate everything that you do. People don't understand what you do. Like, they see you on here on the pod, they see you on Uninterrupted, but they don't know the behind the scenes Paul Rivera that I know. That be in the meetings chopping it up with intelligence and getting stuff done. That's the P I know, man. I appreciate you and everything that you're doing, man, and keep up the good work. You always got my support and love, man, and much love to the family. And before we leave, you know, we got to say, hey, go out there and vote more than the vote. Gotta go vote. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Gotta go vote. Gotta go vote.
Absolutely. Maybe the most important thing, more important, not even maybe, more important than any basketball game, any playoff game, which is why you see Bron, you're a part of the team, the More Than a Vote team, you know, yes. Kevin Hart, the whole crew, just really making this a priority. I mean, there literally is nothing more important. Obviously, stay healthy in the process of doing it, but, you know, change starts with our vote, you know, so for sure. So a lot more to come on that. You can follow More Than a Vote on social. You can follow Kendrick, who's a part of it, you know, on his social channels for more information, all that stuff. It's a great call out. KP, I love you, brother. Appreciate your time. See you on the other side, man.
All right, my brother.
All right, peace.